Sup everyone, welcome to Power Play with CJ. Today we're going to continue the 10 question segments with 10 questions segment with 10 questions on the Florida Panthers. Number 10, is Jacob Markstrom ready? I believe so. After 2 years in Sweden, after getting drafted in the second round by the Panthers, and then 3 years up and down between the Panthers and the AHL affiliate in San Antonio. I actually think it might have been Rochester when he first come over, 2010, 2000. Actually, I think it was San Antonio. I think his time's come. He's bided his time. He's 23 years old. He's ready to be the man in South Florida. I think he'll be just that. Having Clemenson as a veteran backup smart, but this is Jacob Markstrom's team now, and we've seen how good Swedish goalies can be, and I think he's going to continue that, and he'll be amazing next year. And beyond. He's got a bright future long term, and actually bright future potential, upside, all that stuff. You'll be hearing about that a lot in this segment. A little prelude to what the number one question will be. Number 9, what are we getting at? What will the Panthers get from Brian Campbell, Soupy, next year? Last year's numbers really weren't. He was minus 22, which is atrocious in a 48-game season. But he had 27 points in 48 games after having 53 points in 82 games his first year in South Florida. The points per game pace is not too far off. So I think he'll bounce back here. He'll be 34. The season opens. So he's older now, but I think he'll still be doing his thing. And I think it's make or break time for a couple guys. So we'll talk about that. Number 8, will Nick Bjugstad be up all next year? I think it's definitely a possibility he could see time in the AHL, but I think you'll see at least 65-70% of him in the NHL next year with the Panthers. I think he's definitely, I would say a bright young star. We keep reiterating that, but he's the real deal. And I think you look at the deal Blake Wheeler got, and they're really similar players, both Minnesota high school players, high picks, and great big kids, size-wise, can play the game similar. So that's something to watch for. I think he could really turn some heads sooner rather than later. And, he looked okay in his brief tryout stint, so to speak, with the Panthers at the end of last season. But I think there'll be more of the same coming for fans in South Florida. And anyone that saw him play college hockey knows how good he is. So it's coming from me. Number 7, sophomore slump for Huberdeau? Absolutely not. Kid's an amazing talent. He's got more young players surrounding him. I think he's arguably their best player, and he'll be leading the charge for a while, and he's, like I say, he's a real deal. Number 6, boomer bust here for Goodbranson? Absolutely. It's year 3 of his NHL career. They took him over Cam Fowler and a lot of other very talented players in the 2010 draft. I think he's got to show there's got to be justification from going that high. He's shown flashes, but at the same time, there's been some immaturity. There's been some poor decision making on the ice. He's lack of discipline all around. And I think it's time for him to really step his game up and show why did he go that high in the draft. And that's something that'll come. And this is a guy who's never really a high scorer, even in juniors. But 4 assists in 32 games isn't awful output. Minus 22. It's atrocious. So it's got to be on him to step up and be better. And hopefully for the sake of the Florida Panthers, he will be, because if that's the case, he will have. I think he'll definitely help the Panthers' chances next year. Number 5, is Sasha Barkov ready? Absolutely. Like I said, he was the most NHL-ready player in the 2013 NHL draft. Good mix of size, skill, speed, and he might play some wing early on, but he's going to be a long-term top 2 center with the Panthers. And with him and Bjugstad, you get 2 very big, very skilled forwards, and you throw Huberdeau in the mix, and a couple of the other guys, and there's really. Like I said, there's reason to be optimistic in Florida, but that'll come up later. Number 4, another question. Number 4, Bobby, got to be a defensive question, right? Dmitry Kulikov, will he break out next year? I think so. I think Dmitry Kulikov is a great young defenseman. He's I think he'll be 23 years old. He's a very young, very skilled defenseman. I think he's been ready to break out for a while, and I think the team's struggling. It's definitely hurt his chances of becoming, a upper echelon defenseman. But he's got the skill set. There's a reason he was a first round pick in the 2009 draft, and I think it'll be on display next year. He was minus 5 last year. It really isn't that bad. His points, weren't great. He was 10 points in 34 games, but I think that -5 on an otherwise atrocious team. I think he can live with that, and he'll show, like I said, he'll continue to develop and eventually, hopefully, become the Panthers' #1 guy on that blue line. Number 3, who replaces the departed Stephen Weiss, obviously the longest tenured Panther. Actually played the most games in the history of the franchise. Weiss, signed with the Detroit Red Wings in the offseason, and it's a tough blow for a team that needed scoring and lost its all-time leading scorer. I think he is. Don't quote me on that. But I mean, last year Weiss had 4 points in 17 games. Really, you can replace that. He's a heart and soul guy, definitely a guy that been around for a long time, but he's not irreplaceable. And I think that's leading into the #1 question about the Florida Panthers having a plethora of young and talented players. But I think Weiss definitely, they'll miss the veteran presence. And I mean, he had some very, very good years with Florida. He had 60 points twice. He had 57 points last year. So he's a good offensive player. But we'll come back to him with that whole thing in a second. Number 2, is Kevin Dean on the hot seat? No, he's not. I think he's one of the better coaches in the NHL. I mean, last year they really got some rough breaks with injuries. Obviously, Stephen Weiss only played 17 games. But I mean, I don't think he's in danger of losing his job, anytime soon. That's just, it's business in the NHL, and he'll be all right. He's a hell of a coach, and I think the ownership's smart enough, and Dale Talon's smart enough, GM, to let him, work with this young talent and let him make something out of it. Pulling the trigger on him too soon wouldn't work in anyone's favor. Number 1, is this the same old song and dance with the Florida Panthers? Obviously, how many times we've said, exciting young players in the organization, going back a few years with Stephen Weiss, Booth, Nathan Horton. Obviously, they've all moved on to greener pastures. And before that with Luongo and Bouwmeester and a couple other guys. It's not exactly, they don't have a great track record of consistency. There's a reason they only have 1 playoff appearance since 2000. And, it's tough to say this, but I mean, I'll believe it when I see it with this team. I think I'm excited to watch Barkov play. I'm excited to watch Huberdeau take the next step forward. I think Gudbranson can really be a great stay-at-home defenseman. I'm excited to see what Bukestad did as someone that watched play a lot of college hockey, but they got to stand and deliver. It's time. And like I said, hopefully they do it for the sake of the fans of South Florida, because I mean they've been waiting long enough. And I think Dale Talon, he's shown he can build a winner, but this is, it's big time now. They've had their chances. Last year was kind of a wash year, but how many times have you said that with the team? Oh, well, they're developing. They'll be better next year. I mean, it's time for the team to show what it can do, and I think if it all comes together, they'll do just that. Do I think they'll be a playoff team? No, but I think they can be better than some people will say they are. Then critics will say they are. Anyway, that's this episode of The Power Play with CJ. 10 questions on the Florida Panthers. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the off season and beyond. Later, guys.